Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are honored and excited to have Suzanne Ames on with us. Susie is the incoming president of Peninsula College. She hails from Lake Washington Institute of Technology, where she served as a vice president of instruction and had other positions. She went through a recent hiring process and was selected by the board of Peninsula College as the next president. I can say I am very excited to have her. I did a bit of research on the three candidates and talked to a lot of people across the state in the college system about the different applicants, and she really came out at the top, I'd say. So, and my conversations with her, I was so impressed. She just seems like a go-getter, very community focused, and so really excited to have that. And so just a few housekeeping items. I'm putting some of you on mute, and the reason for that is so that we don't have unintentional background noise. And if you have any questions for her, you can either raise your hand or put it in the chat and I can call on you. But we like this to be interactive. And again, Susie, thanks so much for joining us. And with that, I'll let you take it away.
Great. Thanks so much, Colleen, for putting this together. I'm really excited to be here. It is early May, and I officially start at Peninsula College as the president on July 1, but I am excited to not have to wait and get a chance to start connecting with each of you. Thanks to Mike Maxwell for being here, trustee of Peninsula College. Appreciate your support from day one of this process. So thanks for being here. So a little bit about my background. So I worked in the community and technical college system for 21 years in a variety of roles: marketing and communications, grants, fundraising, institutional research, and the last 7 years in instruction at Lake Washington Institute of Technology, building instructional programs that align with the workforce needs of our local community. For many, many years, more than 15, I've been preparing myself to be a college president. And it is no exaggeration to say literally preparing to be Peninsula College's next president. There are so many factors that go into making that a possibility. I do think it was putting it out there to the winds to see how it all falls out. And I couldn't be more thrilled that the timing of my career aligned with the timing of the college. And I can talk a little bit more about how that all came to be, but I think it's super exciting. The life cycle of where the college is, the life cycle of where the community is, and the future for both, I think, are super bright. And just the fact that there's so many of you here this morning interested in learning more about me and learning more about ways we can connect says a lot about the community, and the primary reason why Peninsula College has been on my top of my list for so many years. So thanks for having me. I'm open to any questions you might have.
Well, I will go ahead and start it off. Or Robbie, I see you went off mute. Would you like to ask a question?
I didn't mean to go off mute, but anyway, that's fine. I really appreciate what you're doing, Colleen and Susie, all the efforts you have made to get acquainted with our community. And I know you know how much I care about local media, including the media that has been the award-winning student newspaper at Peninsula College, and all our media on the North Olympic Peninsula that brings us get together and is an important source of information and advertising. So could you talk a little bit about your commitment to local journalism? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Robbie. So I didn't mention in my career, I'm a former journalist. The first 5 years of my career I spent at the Everett Herald, working in the editorial opinion department. And I think it's no secret that journalism is in a very precarious position in our country right now. And that is a very concerning notion when it comes to democracy and accurate information. And the heart of a community is sharing accurate information with folks. So I do have real concerns. I think that there's potential for the college to be a leader in that conversation locally. Having said that, there's lots of external factors that are out of our control, but I wouldn't want to just let those external factors be the decision-making factor. So I think the fact that there is an endowment at Peninsula College specifically for journalism, in my mind, is what sets the conversation apart. That is a very unique situation, and one that I think creates potential for national recognition with the Poynter Institute. Robbie and I have talked about possibly enticing them to hold a writers in residence workshop for experienced journalists here in the local community, and drawing names who could. They all need a break right now, right? It's a tough time to be in journalism. So bring them out to the beautiful peninsula, give them some rest and respite, maybe have them do a community panel to talk about the future of journalism, to start the hope and the idea spurring in the minds of potential journalism students. Because while the industry is in flux, there will always be a need for journalists. We just don't really know what their future medium is going to be. It probably won't be in the traditional print journalism that I was trained in, but whatever the new technology, the new medium for news and information sharing will be, that's the potential, I think, for the college to be on the cutting edge, to figure out where the future of the industry is going, and then how can we help prepare those future workers for the industry. And again, because of the endowment, I think that is why we're still even having the conversation. I think there's definitely potential.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. So you came from the I-5 corridor, where there are a lot of businesses, a lot of people and companies to pull from to create programs. And so obviously out here, Peninsula College covers 2 counties, Jefferson and Clallam, a total of about 110,000 people. So there'd be advantages in that and disadvantages. Advantages in that you're not competing with another overlapping college. So I don't know that other folks on the call recognize that's a scenario that occurs outside of our area. But then also a challenge that's associated with that is that in order to understand what the needs are of local businesses, it's often that you can't go to one company and hear that I need, 57 software engineers or whatever it is. You have to go to 20 companies and hear that they have onesies and twosies as relative to their needs. So with that, how do you potentially envision working with the business community to understand the needs that are really disaggregated throughout our county? And then, the other piece is you serve an area that people in Port Townsend don't want to drive to Port Angeles. People in Port Angeles don't want to drive to Port Townsend for classes. What kind of ideas are you thinking of relative to the distance issue?
Yeah. So I am thrilled to get out of the I-5 corridor. Took me 9 minutes to get to work today. But for me, it's all about opportunities to connect with the local community. One of the things I find, having grown up on the I-5 corridor, is yes, there are opportunities, but it is often hard to even start the conversation because there are so many distractions and there are so many competing priorities. I'm imagining in a small town, there is more opportunity to engage in conversations to get at what those commonalities are. So just in my very initial conversations and preparing for the Peninsula College interview with some of these the folks on the call this morning, I think there's potential for some common threads. And I don't know that for sure because I haven't had an opportunity to fully dive into it. But if we take the maritime industry, for example, I'm thinking there might be like a common thread of skills and knowledge that a strong base of employers all have in common that they need in their entry-level workers. So my hope would be that I could be the catalyst for those conversations with individual business owners, with the help of the cities and the port and the chamber and the EDC as also partners in that conversation to try to figure out where are those pockets of training that need to happen. And then it's up to the college then to be creative and responsive, because as you said, Colleen, starting up a traditional professional technical program that constantly enrolls 24 students every quarter or every year, that's probably not reality. But that doesn't mean that there aren't ways that the college can change the way it works to meet those needs. One of the benefits of having worked in Washington State for 21 years in the community and technical college system is that I have very strong relationships throughout the whole state. And we can also look for commonalities that other colleges have in the state that we can partner with, whether that's, Grace Harbor or Olympic College, more locally, or there might even be one in Eastern Washington. And with the beauty of remote learning, there's really an opportunity for us to share students, to share faculty, to share industry needs. And so I think it's a matter of a really in-depth needs assessment to figure out where are those workforce needs, and then the college getting really creative to try to figure out how to meet those. But to be perfectly honest, that's why I've wanted to work at Peninsula College for as long as I have, because I think the framework is set for those kind of conversations to happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. I'll follow up with, you brought up maritime. I've been involved with many maritime training conversations that the college put on, working with the Center for Excellence in Maritime. And what they would do is they would host something at the college. And because so many of the businesses, the owners work in the business, they don't have, 25 employees. They have, did we lose her?
No, I'm here.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Sorry. The screen jumped around.
Yeah.
We didn't get much attendance at all. And maybe it's because they were occurring too often, or maybe it's because we were asking them to come to the college, but it was mostly members of the college or EDC or maybe the port, but there wasn't attendance from the actual business owners unless they had an HR director, which, we have 2 companies maybe that do. So how would you, given that scenario, how would you try to really reach out to them, given that they're not going to very likely come to you?
Right. No, I mean, one of the things I want, but I have a vision of doing is that the college is out in the community. Yes, we want more folks on campus so that they can see and experience what a college is like. But I think it's all, the onus is also on going to them, going to see their companies, to see the inner workings of how they work, talking to them, talking to their employees, and really getting a deep sense of how their company works and what they need to take their company to the next level. The traditional model is what you described, of hosting a curriculum planning session on campus, probably with a facilitator. That's one model, but I think it can very easily work with myself and my colleagues on campus going out to have those conversations at their business site. And it's more fun. I think you learn a lot more. You get a sense of really what they do and the role that they play in our economy.
Great. Thank you so much. I see Chair Allen has his hand raised.
Thanks, Colleen. And I also join everyone in congratulating you, Susie. So
thanks, Ryan.
It's a very exciting opportunity for you and for our college in our community. I just want to throw out a number of issues that are on my mind with regard to the importance of the college and our community. Colleen referenced a lot of economic and business issues that are of great importance that the college can provide. And as you're developing students with those kinds of skills. But there are other skills that are critically important to our peninsula, which includes healthcare. Luke started a healthcare program, nursing. That is a huge issue that OMC and our tribe are very active in terms of providing better quality healthcare in the community. So I hope that program will continue, and look forward to engaging with you on that matter. So another one I know is near and dear to Robbie's heart is natural resources. You know, the kind of skill set that you bring out of your program with regard to the biologists and the technical skill set with regard to managing and protecting our resource. Randy certainly knows about timber, issues, and we are very engaged with habitat restoration, riparian zone issues, salmon protection issues. Those kinds of issues are critically important, and getting new young talent coming out of your institution will be critically important to us. I do want to ask the thinking. I have lost track of Peninsula College's coordination with the four-year institutions, UW, Wazoo, Western, et cetera, on collaboration for those students that want to stay here and get your four-year degree beyond the AA or AAA, whatever they're enrolled in. So that is something I'm highly interested in. I am curious about the enrollment of PC. Is it up? Is it down? How's it doing in terms of recruiting students for its own survival? And which includes, the student housing. I've lost track of, I know that was an issue for Luke over the last number of years. So, and last but not least, I just want you to know our tribe is very supportive of the sport program. You have a great athletic director up there and a lot of great coaches, and that program is as important to the health and vibrancy of the college as anything else. So, we're and then last but not least is I represent Jamestown, but then Lower Elwha, Port Gamble, Macaw, Quileute, Hull, they all have, basically ownership, and we want our students in college. And so recruitment is a big issue. We look forward to creative ways to recruit some of our students to PC. So that's my short list.
1, 2, 3. I got 7. So thank you, Ron. So when it comes to the industry, so one, yes, the nursing program, from what I've heard, is stellar at Peninsula College. So only interest in growing it. I was just texting with the Vice President of Instruction yesterday. There's new money coming down the pike from the legislature for simulation equipment and additional students, funding for more students in nursing. I hope to continue. I think, and I don't know, I haven't talked with folks on campus yet, but if there's interest in the healthcare community, maybe there's a niche in a bachelor's of science in nursing. It's a program that I'm currently working on getting started at my current college, and one that has a really strong workforce needs in some other regions. So definitely more opportunity for conversation to have there. I think we also need to get really creative on clinical sites and making sure that there are pathways for those students while they're in school. During my interview process, I did talk about my hope of creating some kind of natural resource-based educational programming. I know there's been conversation on campus about that prior to my arrival. I don't know the details of those conversations, but really hope to dig into that, because I've heard that you all bring in a lot of folks from the outside to work in the natural resources. So I'd love to find a way to train and employ local residents to be able to work in that currently thriving industry, but one with climate change, I think, is just going to explode when it comes to green technology and the climate change subsequent jobs that don't even exist today, but they'll exist in just a matter of years. Enrollment is up a little bit from last year, so that's a good thing. Not a lot of colleges are up from last year. It's not where we want to be, but the downward slide has stopped as of this year. So the hope is that that continues. I think the budget that was passed by the trustees has a 5% enrollment projection for next year. I think that's wise. It's not pie in the sky, but it's showing that the college is making a real commitment. We've got to find a way to re-engage high school students into education across the country. This is not a peninsula problem. With the pandemic, for the first time ever in these young people's lives, school became optional. And so just psychologically re-engaging them back into, no, this is what you need for a livelihood in your future as you become an adult is a societal problem that we all need to come together to try to fix. And I think one of the ways to do that is to create fun, exciting, cool professional technical programs that give students a real sense of hands-on education from the day they start. Because dragging them through math and English and social studies is going to be a hard sell when they just spent 2 years at home when school was optional. So we've got to find a creative way to bring them back. 3 more to go, Ron. So housing is continued on the top of the list of priorities. The current housing facility is full. I heard in my interview, some of the athletic coaches have 24 students on their roster who need a place to live in the fall. So it's an urgent issue. We do not want to turn those students away, but we have to find some creative solutions. So that was just something I learned when I was on campus for my interview. So I'm not sure what the types of conversations were, but as you all know, housing is a huge crisis in the whole region, not just for Peninsula College students, but for everyone, including myself. Everyone, if anyone has a house for sale, my husband and I are looking. I'm a huge sports fan, so we'll definitely be a big supporter of Peninsula College athletics. Not only do athletics provide a nice enrollment churn for the college, but these students add a livelihood to the college that you don't get from other students necessarily, who might just be coming on campus to take a few classes and then going off to work. Athletes typically spend more time on campus. They provide life to a campus. They also need to keep their grades up in order to keep their eligibility for their sport. They tend to bring their friends to also enroll in classes. So overall, they're a good student potential to invest in. And then lastly, I also want to see the Indigenous students on campus. And we share that interest in common for sure. You know, the Longhouse was a phenomenal step towards providing a space for Indigenous students to feel like they belong on campus. And I think we just need to continue to find ways to grow that connection even more so that they know they belong there. And since we know that sense of belonging is a huge factor into students breaking that barrier mentally, that this is a place for them. So I look forward to partnering with you and your colleagues on that.
Thank you. We look forward to it.
Great.
Thank you, Ron. Erica Lindholm has her hand up, and I know she's always got issues with Zoom. So she has a green background if she turns her camera on.
But I will at least let you see my face. I am wearing brown today. I'm sorry for my appearance, but Suzanne, I just want to welcome you to the community and introduce myself and raise something that's on my mind too, and offer that, you know, Craft3, the organization, the nonprofit CDFI that I work for, that covers a 2-state region, and we have 8 offices, but one of them is in Port Angeles. and we lend to businesses and organizations unable to access traditional bank financing. And my interest in having new leadership at the college is to see if we can explore getting back to what I understand has been in the past, support for small business and entrepreneurial type training. You know, I believe it is my understanding, before I was here, I arrived 8 years ago, there was classes taught in this field. I know that we have some that are more currently being taught, I believe, by Ray, and I'm forgetting Ray's last name at the moment, but primarily they are marketed to existing students. And I think that that is helpful. We want to bring those students, introduce them to the concept of entrepreneurship, but also making it more available to the broader community, bringing you know, existing business owners to training on campus. Ray, Raleigh, thank you. Hi, Ray. To have those resources available to them on campus, I think would be a long step. That I know of, we have lost our current SBDC advisor on the peninsula. So or at least that position has not been replaced after a number of months. And as I understand it, because we have Center for Inclusive Entrepreneurship present on the peninsula, that is not a priority right now.
Actually it is. I've made sure it is.
Fabulous.
We're going to get
good.
to the state funding, and they are interviewing for that position. They just haven't found anyone yet to fill it. So if you know of someone that would be a good candidate to serve as a business advisor and working for Wazoo, please let me, or yeah, I know the team that's interviewing, and please let us know. And actually I'll find the link and I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you so much, Colleen. I still think that there's ways that the college can support those efforts. Certainly there is much more than one advisor on the peninsula can provide for the entire peninsula. So anyway, I want to offer my help in any way, and Craft Three's help in any way we can. So thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Nice to meet you.
Nice
I haven't had the pleasure to meet Ray Raleigh yet. I see her square there. Nice to meet you, Ray. I do know somewhat about Peninsula's applied bachelor's degree. I did my doctoral dissertation on the first 4 applied bachelor's degrees in the state of Washington, of which Peninsula's was one. And I currently oversee 10 applied bachelor's degrees at my current college. And one of the things that we're seeing across the state that's getting a lot of traction are bachelor's level certificates, both on the continuing education side and the credit side of the house. So there's most likely a potential, if they don't already exist, in Peninsula's BAS degree for an entrepreneurial type track. I also know from my interview with Mark Abshire from the Chamber that the college produces a significant number of entrepreneurs who stay in the community. And so we were chatting about ways that the college could continue that support, because it's one thing to start a business and it's a whole nother to keep it going. And so is there some ways that the college could provide extra supports as the businesses are just getting their traction, and are there targeted things that they wish that they knew and now realize they don't know? So I think there's definitely potential there. And yeah, partnering with a new SBDC professional would be terrific in that.
Well, I appreciate the work we're trying to consolidate all these elements of the nonprofits that provide business advisory services through Opera, Olympic Peninsula Entrepreneurial Resource Association.
Oh, great.
And one of the new cool things that the EDC is going to be a trustee for, and I think CIE as well, is something called Kiva. And Kiva offers up to $25,000 zero interest, no, I'm sorry, up to $15,000 zero interest loans, and it can go to startups as well. And so it's zero interest. And what you have to do though, to show social capital is get deep after the interview. If you've been supported by a trustee, then somewhere between 10 and 30 people to loan you $25. So just 25 bucks, but you have to get 10 to 30 people to buy in and say, yes, I like this business idea, I would support it. And then they will get you up to $15,000 at a 0% interest loan. And that then has to be paid back in 2 or 3 years. But it's a great way, I think, for new entrepreneurs to get started. You know, a carpet cleaning machine or whatever it might be, you know, where they just need some money to get going. So I love that program. And I think you're going to be hearing and seeing a lot more of it. So we have the myriad, the spectrum of different opportunities, and you know, the idea of there's no wrong door, and everybody will just get you to the right place if you're looking for starting a new business.
It's a great
So
vision.
Steve has had his hand up for a while. Steve, and then Michael.
Yes, thank you. And again, welcome. I have a question about how colleges, especially community colleges, are dealing with their changing franchise and responsibilities to community, both workforce development and to careers, and specifically how that might apply to us here on the peninsula. We are preparing students for their future, and their futures are presumably going to last until 2070, 2880, or beyond. And we have in the world a very quickly and increasingly quickly changing economic, social, and technical landscape. And technology is underpinning more and more things, and more things are becoming automated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so we want to train people for the workforce, but you know, is our training enough to help people to become lifelong learners for the long range of their careers? It has been said on the peninsula that our greatest export is in fact our kids. And in keeping with what Erica has said about developing an entrepreneurial culture, we need to do that in order to increase our businesses here, which are pretty lacking in technology, and our perspective is lacking in an awareness of technology, and to increase our horizons, to be able to keep more of our kids, more of our businesses, allow people to be more resilient with respect to automation, and to be able to contribute to this ongoing and ever-changing world. So how are colleges typically dealing with these issues?
Yeah.
And again, they're evolving franchise. And how might we here do those kinds of things?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. It's a real worry I have as industries are becoming more advanced in technology. I worry that the students aren't coming in ready for that advancement. So 2 examples at my current college, auto repair and electronics. These are programs that you used to be able to come in with very little math preparation and learn how to turn a wrench or learn how to turn on a soldering tool and get a great job. And now those programs require computer science classes in order to even just start. So I would like to have real serious conversations with our school districts and figure out how we get those students better prepared to succeed in this drastically changing, quickly changing workforce, because those jobs where you turn a wrench are becoming fewer and fewer, and they are all becoming more technologically advanced. So that's one area that truly causes me concern, because just as a technical college where I'm coming from, that's a whole population of high school students who are coming out ill-prepared for their future. And then I think we also need to figure out how to instill that notion of lifelong learning, and then position the college so that we're here when they need us. So as their companies change their technology, I hope they're looking to Peninsula College to be the one that gives them those up skills in training, so that they can continue to advance their workforce and not have to look outside the region for the skilled workers.
Yes, but how, if I may, how do you take someone who has been in industry for 5 or 10 years and has a relatively senior position and take them out and then start them learning technologies that in fact other people learn from day one, and then they have to step back at, and resume their careers at a much lower level?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that community technical colleges have in spades is their ability to retrain adult workers. And what we find at my college is the adult workers are by far the better learners. They're dedicated, they're committed, they know why they're there. And so if we can scaffold their learning and make it as contextualized as possible and not drag them through, pre-college math, how do we give their math applied to them that's contextualized for their job, their synapses are going to start triggering a lot quicker and they're going to have a lot more engagement in their learning because it's tied directly to applying it to their workforce and their job and their current job and hopefully their future job.
A continuing process.
Sorry, Ray, what?
And a lot less student loan debt.
Yes.
So if I may, since we're on that topic, I was going to bring Mike up, but I just wanted to show you this. This was alarming to me. I pulled up 4 of our 5 school districts, but only 31.2% of the students in the Port Angeles district met the requirements. In the Sequim school district, it's 32%. And then in let's see, this one's Crescent, it's 19.5. Let's see, and I think I'm missing one here. Quileute, it's 13.5. So those stats were very alarming to me. And I think we are going to somehow have to work with our school districts to ensure that those needs that are necessary once they do graduate are the math skills are being successfully taught in the school districts. So Dr. Maxwell.
Thank you. And it's probably not fair since I just spent the past 3 months doing nothing but ask you lots of questions. So I'll try and keep this brief, but I just wanted to kind of pivot a little bit just for the benefit of the group. And this will be something I'll be working with you on is one thing that's unique about your position is you've got this internal campus community that you've got this whole constituency that internally you have to connect with. You have to, this leadership transition, there's a lot of work and energy that's going along there. And as you can tell, there's this huge external constituency that is represented by the people on this call with lots of ideas and kind of raring to go. How are you going to balance this tug of war for your limited time as you're trying to get oriented to the community college?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Mike. I don't think there's a magic answer other than cloning, if you have that figured out.
I'll work on that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. One of the reasons that I had picked Peninsula College many years ago is its size and its ability to develop intimate relationships, both on campus and off campus. So I do hope to really get to know faculty and staff and many students. I also know we have a challenge with the pandemic of getting back to some new normal. And so I'm very anxious to have those conversations with the college community and figure out how we can rebuild community on a college campus, particularly a small campus. The relationships of employee to employee is all you've got because you don't have anyone behind you staff wise to serve the students. It's everyone on the front lines. So I really want to try to build a sense of community post-pandemic with the college and the college community and do that very intentionally, that I think will then have benefits and leverages when I'm out in the community, and also hope that I'm not out in the community alone, that I'm bringing Mia Boster and I'm bringing Stephen Thomas and bringing other colleagues with me in those conversations so we can build that bridge between the college and the community.
Great. We'll have your back too.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Rod Fleck is the planner and prosecuting attorney for the city of Forks.
Good morning, Doc, and nice to meet you. Congratulations on your new position. I'm also an adjunct at your Forks campus, so I'm kind of curious how you envision your Port Townsend and Forks campuses interacting with your Port Angeles campus once you start in your position.
Great. I had the privilege of touring your campus and the Port Townsend campus as part of my interview process. Enrollment is a real concern on both of those campuses. A couple of things, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I think a real strong engagement with the local school districts is going to be critical to supporting those students. And in Forks, I know in particular, they've seen this significantly high dropout rate in Forks High School. So finding ways to re-engage those students will be critical. And with the beauty of technology, we can tap into faculty members at all three campuses that can teach throughout the whole district. And I was very impressed with the technology on all three campuses that really makes that a viable opportunity with what we call high flex, some students in person, some students online, and really trying to have any educational opportunity that we have on any one of the campuses, make it available to students throughout the whole region. I think whatever we do, it's got to be without silos and with collaboration within the college district and then with the local school districts as well.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Cindy Kelly. Cindy.
Welcome to the Peninsula, Susie. I come from Lake Stevens 45 years ago, moved to Clallam Bay. That was quite a culture shock for me, and then Forks for 5 years, and then been in Port Angeles. So as Colleen said, yes, I served on the Port Angeles School Board for 20 years, served on the Washington State School Directors Association, also as a tribal ambassador for the tribes across the state. I'm a member of the Delaware Nation and work with our local tribes across the state, the 29 federally recognized tribes, and the non-federally recognized tribes. So of course, as Colleen would tell you, my passion, I'm a manager and operator of a water district west of Port Angeles, been here 33 years, and we lack operators, linemen. My husband was a lineman. My son is a third generation lineman back at Snohomish County, and wastewater people. We need to start some kind of apprenticeship and work with our unions, our city, county. We need to bring that together. I'm going to retire in December after 33 years. I had to really go out and pick and find somebody to do this work. I stole somebody from the county, which I'm very thrilled. He had a very big young student with 3 kids. But as we talk about the housing issue, that is huge here. But what we know is that a lot of our kids don't leave. And like you talk about, the lifelong learning is so important that we do that. But we really need to start some kind of wastewater, water, and inside wiremen and outside watermen, some kind of program. And there's some agencies that I could connect you with that are kind of doing some of that work. But I think what our issue more of is the travel part. And like you talk about, SD brought up the point about trying to get people up to the standards. Lots of employers need to look at doing professional development during the day and letting their employees leave to go get that done. But what we've learned in Port Angeles is that we started the CVU Academy about 3 years ago because we were losing a couple hundred kids to online across the state. And so we wanted to recapture our kids. I think through the pandemic, we've learned a lot of that through Zoom, that we need to look outside the box because education is not the same as it was for the last 5 years, and it will not continue to be that way. So, but I want to welcome you and love to sit down and have a conversation with you.
Thank you, Cindy, and congratulations on your retirement. Sounds like you've got big shoes to fill. My husband works in the construction industry as a project manager. And so, we see it every day, not being able to find flaggers and drillers, and it's from the ditch diggers on up to the high tech workers. It's a huge problem across the state. We need to fundamentally restructure the apprenticeship program in this state. And there's some initial conversations with the community and technical college system in the state of Washington, but maybe we can create some kind of model at home that can then be replicated across the state, because we need better relationships between the unions and the industries and the colleges to really meet this pervasive problem across the whole state.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And Kevin Galacci, the general manager of Clallam Transit Systems. Kevin.
Yeah, good morning and welcome, Susan. I just wanted to add on to the, as we're talking about technology, one of the issues that's been kind of diminishing here over the last years is the having trained technicians in the area. I know the dealerships have been struggling with that. We've been fortunate here, I think, because of our wages and benefits, but still we have some pickings when it comes to hiring mechanics to work on our buses. So, you know, the transportation affects us all. I'm sure all of you have had delays where your vehicle's maybe sitting at a dealership for a couple of months, not only to having that delay, but then to have someone inexperienced work on that and have continued problems. And that's just going to continue to grow. And so I want to just throw my out there, my support for the, you know, the automotive diesel, zero emission, whatever technology that is. It's very important for our community here, and to try to attract those gearheads, you know, before they leave the area, because they're probably not going to come back. And so it's already kind of a problem. And I know there's been some discussion about that program going away, and I think it needs to be modernized. And, you know, the zero emission element's very important, but even just the current vehicles are on the road now. I mean, that affects everybody. And if you aren't able to get your vehicle repaired, then I guess that's good for us, because our ridership will probably end up going up. So, but anyway, just want to throw that out there. And we're happy, my maintenance department is happy to support that in any way what that, you know, requires for the future. So.
Thanks, Kevin. It's
Thank
nice
you.
to meet you. Those kind of partnerships are going to be critical, whether it's diesel or auto repair. The colleges don't get funded for instructional equipment. So the hands-on opportunities for students to learn can be really beneficial if they're learning out in the community in a career-connected model, or maybe they're learning the instruction, the lecture on campus, and then maybe they're coming to Clallam Transit to get some of the hands-on experience. That can be a really powerful model where you're getting kind of, without being a formal apprenticeship, you're getting apprentices that you can help train, and you can get them to be, you can mold them to be exactly how you want them to be. But with the pandemic, I think they heard that the lifespan of a current car just got extended by 20 years because people aren't turning over their cars like they used to pre-COVID. So we're going to have a lot more older cars on the road and a lot more electric vehicles on the road at the same time. So the demand for skilled technicians in both fields is going to continue longer than we would have had if we didn't have the pandemic.
We've got a very supportive, excuse me, automotive community who's willing to invest financially in the program, not just here in PA, but Bremerton and even as far as Spokane. So it'd be great to re-engage that community. I'm so happy to hear that you're interested in renewing that relationship and investment and partnership with the community.
Absolutely. There's also new money coming down the pike from the legislature specifically for and they're calling it Climate Solutions Curriculum, but it's specifically for green technology in automotive. So they haven't told us yet how to get the money, the logistical venue for that, but hopefully Peninsula can be at the table and get some of those funds to help modernize the curriculum.
Great. So I've got to look at the chat and see if we had some questions there that I've missed. It looks like I've got most of those, I think. If here's a new, Debbie, do you have a question you want to ask?
Not really a question, but a comment. Most of you know that I've been an advocate of tech training for a lot of years, and have been, you know, speaking. I ran for school board on that as well, but it pretty much fell on deaf ears. for a lot of years. Nobody wanted to talk about it. My husband taught woodworking at the college for a number of years. And that kind of went by the wayside because of the credentialing requirements. You know, a man with 30 years experience woodworking had to fulfill the colleges and the state's teaching requirements before he could continue his classes. What are you going to do to allow people that have the experience, but they don't have the teaching degree, to participate in your programs?
Thank you, Debbie, for the question. I can tell you, having worked in instruction at a technical college for 7 years, we have many, we have folks with an associate's degree teaching in our machining program right now. There's absolutely ways within the state of Washington RCW to value industry experience in partnership with education. You can't do that on the gen eds on English and math. There's far more stricter rules for who can teach those classes. But on the technical side, you can absolutely consider industry experience the same equivalent as higher education, particularly in professional technical programs. So we're doing that right now at Lake Washington. We can do it at Peninsula.
Has there been any talk about cross-credentialing for like your English class? If you can read a technical manual and a set of blueprints, that can also count towards some of your English credits?
The Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities does not allow us to do that. They're very strict on overseeing the general education requirements for higher education. It's one of the things that sets us apart from the private career colleges. Like when ITT closed, for example, they were not accredited by the Northwest Commission, and unfortunately those poor students lost all of their gen ed credit that we couldn't accept because we're not allowed to accept it by the Northwest Commission.
Okay,
There's
ITT, is that in
ITT Tech was a private career college that closed a couple of years ago across the country.
My son went to a technical school in Arizona to become a Harley mechanic. So he had to go clear out of state in order to do that.
Yeah, I have huge concerns over the non-accredited technical colleges. They really do a disservice to students. They charge exorbitant amounts of money, and then their education's not accredited, so they can't transfer those classes elsewhere if they need to. It's a travesty in my personal opinion. We do have prior learning assessment, and the Northwest Commission just did loosen the rules on that. So at my current college, I'm working on revising our policy that we can accept more credits from other colleges, not less. And that's, again, a new rule that's allowing us to do that. But one of the benefits of being regionally accredited is that we have very high standards. It means that an English class at Peninsula College has the same rigor as an English class at University of Washington. And that's what makes the community colleges so special, in that we can say 100% that the value of education you get at Peninsula College is just as good as at University of Washington. And I got my associate's degree from Edmonds College and my bachelor's degree from UW. And I've seen that firsthand, that the gen eds have rigor and quality, and it's what makes us so special that you can get a degree locally and not have to go to Seattle if you're not ready for that, or if that's not right for you.
So Susie, do you envision trying to expand dual accreditation with the high schools for some classes? Like in Prof Tech and, working with the CTE programs?
Yeah, and I know that Mia has been working on that as well in getting articulation agreements so that a CTE class at the high school counts for technical credit at the college. So yes, I know it's something they're currently working on, and would hope to support them in any way to do that, more of that. I think that's what makes it really relevant for students, particularly when we can package it, ideally like in a short certificate. So we tell high school students, if you take these classes on your campus, you automatically come to college with the short certificate under your belt. It's part of the guided pathways model in the state, where we're trying to pre-package classes for students, so they're not just taking a smattering of them, that they know that they're on a path of progression. We're hoping it gives them more motivation.
So right now, or for the fall semester as an example, do you anticipate that students will have a hybrid option or in person? And what about vaccination statuses?
I haven't been a part of those conversations at Peninsula College, so I don't know where they're at right now. It's one of the things I'll be diving into early in the summer when I get there. So I can't say, I mean, what the plan for fall is already baked in the class schedule. I'm assuming students are starting to register this week or soon, if not this week, for fall quarter. So I wouldn't be, there you go. Stephen just said it's going to be hybrid. I think hybrid is the new normal. I think that what we need to do is figure out and assure that the quality of education is just as stellar in a hybrid model as it was face-to-face in the good old days. Balancing student demand and also the need to impart meaningful learning. That's a balance that I don't think any educational institution has settled on across the country. And so it will be a continued conversation. Vaccination status, the governor has not yet issued higher education regulations for fall quarter yet. And last we heard, he doesn't plan on doing so until the fall, which puts us in a really tough bind. So business as usual is the norm until we find out if the rules are going to change.
Okay, great. So let's see. Does anybody else have any more questions? If not, I think we've covered most of the questions and we're running up against 9 o'clock. Oh, Steve does have one more thing. Steve, go ahead.
Yes. In most of our courses, by transfer agreements, et cetera, our courses are equivalent, as you pointed out, to those at other colleges and universities. But our students are often not the traditional students. And maintaining those standards with our students requires extra effort and more resources.
Yep.
Right. And often resources that we don't have compared to the people that we have to, to compete with, right, and match, who have more students who require fewer resources. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Steve. So I'll share a conversation that I had yesterday on my campus. So we pulled the data to look at where students of color fall out across the whole college. And what we found is it's in pre-college English and pre-college math. And not only is that the biggest drop-off point for students of color, it's the biggest drop-off point for all students. And so myself and one of my dean colleagues, we brought a proposal to our president's cabinet to do a pilot project to put 2 faculty members in each of the pre-college English and math classes. Because what we find is that when you have a classroom of 24 students and they're all at that pre-college level, they all have a whole lot of issues and challenges outside of class. And one faculty member who's trying to impart algebra and also be a life coach and a counselor is just simply not feasible. So what we hope to be able to do a pilot project to see what happens when we have 2 faculty members in the classroom, so that they can actually follow up when a student doesn't show up to class. They can connect students in a more meaningful handoff way to trio, to tutoring, to advising and counseling, and get them those wraparound support services. So yes, that's expensive, 2 faculty members in every classroom. But if those students actually graduate from those classes and go on it is an investment worth its weight in gold, because then you've got that student up to college level and they're going to continue going. You've proven to them and they've proven to themselves that they are college material. We just needed to help them get started. So it's a matter of finding grants to do that, making a case to the legislature that wraparound support services are an investment that pays off, and then we fixed this massive societal problem where we've produced more college graduates with the skills and knowledge to succeed. So it's a matter of finding new resources and realigning resources and putting it at the right, investing it at the right place. So I think pre-college is a huge opportunity to get students on the right path.
Great. Well, we're at 9:01, so thank you so much, Dr. Ames, for joining
Absolutely.
us.
My pleasure.
We really appreciate it. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.